Ali and his wife Eqra are going to be D1s at UNLV this coming fall. So we're going to have a conversation with them regarding how their experience was and how they managed to get into dental school at the same time and at the same dental school. If you're tuning in here for the first time, go ahead and check out the playlist where we also had conversations with current dental students regarding their experience. So go ahead and check that out. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you aren't already and like this video for more future content. Ali and Eqra, thank you so much for agreeing to being on this episode. Welcome to the channel.
Thanks for having us, Teham. I'm really excited to do this interview with you. We've been trying to get together to do this for a while, but I think our schedules haven't really aligned that well.
Go ahead and give us a little brief introduction regarding who you guys are and how you guys got into dental school in a couple minutes.
I'm Ali, as you already said. So I finished my bachelor's in biology in 2018 when I was graduating from undergrad. And then I got my master's in biology also last summer. So summer 2020. And then now, obviously, we're going to be starting dental school in September here. I applied 3 times to get into dental school, starting in 2018. This was my 3rd cycle, and then thankfully, finally, I got accepted. And unexpectedly, we got into the same school, which has been really amazing. I think we couldn't have really hoped for this, but we're really happy that it happened.
So my name is Eqra. I am Ali's wife, as we have established. But yeah, I went to U of H for my undergrad, and then I went on to do a master's. And then this was my first time applying, so thankfully I got my first cycle. But besides that, I'm a very artistic person, so anything creative, I've always been, that's been my thing. So for me, that was an important aspect of what my career should involve. And then what else about me? We have 2 cats that we love a lot.
Yeah.
And yeah.
That's kind of similar with me and my brother. My brother and I are at the same dental school, same class. Same elementary, middle, high school, college, dental school. It's honestly a blessing to have someone ride along the journey with you, for sure. As pre-dental students know, applying to dental schools is no small task, even applying once. Can you guys give us a little breakdown in terms of what you were looking for when you were applying to dental schools and deciding, I'm going to apply here?
For me, I had a lot lower of a GPA than most people who apply to dental school. And that's definitely a big reason why it took me 3 cycles to get in. So in 2018, when I first applied, I'll just throw out the numbers. I had a 2.95-ish cumulative GPA, and I think my science was around a 2.8. So that really screens you out of a lot of schools, even if they don't really say so. So one of the things that I was looking for is what are the bottom 5th percentiles for every school. And you can use the ADEA guide to kind of see that. And then the next thing, which I think is really important, something I would have really emphasized more when I was looking for these schools, is where would you want to live? So I didn't really do that the first cycle. So I applied to all the schools who like to lower GPAs. And then I just applied to as many of those as I could, which looking back, that's a mistake. You should only apply to schools that you would attend.
How many schools did you apply the first cycle?
The first cycle, I applied to 18 schools.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Some people apply to more, but
They do actually. I've heard.
Yeah.
Really?
Some
I've heard
people
60.
60.
What?
Really?
60?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. No, I see a lot
That's
of
a
people
lot.
applying to 30 schools. It's definitely way too much, and
That
it probably doesn't look good on your application either.
Mm-hmm.
But now I can say the things that I look for in schools were definitely somewhere that I would want to live. A school with a curriculum where you're going to get to work with a lot of complex patients. So typically those are cities with some underserved people, people who don't have access to care. Usually that's a big city.
Yeah.
It can be rural too, but.
Well, what was the second cycle stats?
Second cycle stats was still under 3.0. So I had I want to say a 2.99. And then my science was getting up there too. It's 2.9. And then this cycle, I had over a 3 for both of them. So I think I was a 3.1 cumulative, 3.02 science. Again, I don't think the numbers are super important, but then I think maybe there's a cutoff of 3.0 for some schools. So you definitely want to get your GPA above that if you haven't already.
That's an important topic you brought up. Whenever people feel like I'm not a strong applicant, I need to do something, I need to do a master's, or I need to do a post-bac, the first thing people think about is I need to do the master's. But sometimes they end up ignoring their undergraduate GPA. And even if you kill the master's, and if, like you said, some schools have a cutoff threshold of 3.0 and below, then they're going to drop it from the application. They could have the best master's, but if the GPA is not at least at a 3, then that could hurt you. So what you did is exactly what you should do. Try to improve it to the 3 so that you can make the threshold, and then just put the cherry on top with just killing a master's. So what you did was exactly what everyone should be doing. That's awesome.
To give you a general overview, throughout my first 4.5 years of my undergrad, I took 6 years to finish undergrad, by the way. Through my first 4.5 years, I think I had a 2.5 overall and like a 2.1 science GPA. So that's with like
and how many credits?
That's like 130 credit hours. So you can't increase it very easily. Yeah. So then like I think after that I had close to 100 hours of a 3.8, including the rest of undergrad and my master's. And after that, I'm only at a 3.1. So it's a long journey, but if you're in my position, you have to really take the DAT seriously. Understand that that's what will set you apart. So I ended up getting a 25 AA. Yeah, dude, when I got that printout of my DAT score, like I think my heart stopped for like a couple of beats. I was like, oh.
No matter what score you get, everyone taking for the has their heart stopped, no matter what your score is, because it just comes up on the computer screen out of random. Yeah.
But it was like the relief I felt. My God, it was. I can't explain it. Yeah. But yeah. Anyway, if any of you are in the same position as me, you have questions about that, please feel free to email me.
What about you, Eqra?
For me, the thing is, the goal was to get in together. So wherever he applied, I kind of also followed suit. But the thing is, our criteria was to be in a location that we actually wanted to live in. And also a strong clinical, because our plan after school, at least as of now, is to probably start practicing immediately. And we also want to open our own practice. So it's important for us to get as much clinical exposure as possible without having to resort to like an AEGD or GPR. So our criteria was a strong clinical program, a place that we wanted to live, and a place that was willing to accept us together. My GPA was like a 3.5-ish, so it wasn't that bad. But I still did the master's because my undergrad was a bit rocky. I had some personal issues. So I just felt that I needed some time to kind of like grow and really focus on school and get my priorities straight, because I was kind of going back and forth between different healthcare professions, and I just wanted to make sure that I was making the right decision.
Obviously, I'm sure Ali had a big influence in it that he picked dentistry. So aside from the fact that your husband was going in that, what was the deciding factor for you that made you feel like this is probably what's going to make sense for me?
It was actually my art teacher who suggested for me to go into dentistry, because she saw that I was a very artistic person, but it wasn't something that I wanted to do as a career. But I realized that I needed a career that would be hands-on. And I feel that dentistry was that perfect mix of healthcare, science, art, and also it was there's a lot of different topics and a lot of different skills you need to have to become a successful dentist, particularly a practice owner. So with all that in mind, including the business aspect, the marketing aspect, and all that, I knew dentistry was right for me because I would never be bored. So yeah.
I think it's really cool how your art teacher mentioned for you to consider dentistry. That's pretty cool, actually.
She was very nice. She would talk to me about different things, and she would be asking me like, oh, why don't you go into like architecture? And I'm like, no, I don't want to do architecture. So she was the one that suggested it, and it's something I would never have considered. Like dentistry was not in my mind at all. So I'm grateful for her to mentioning it to me, because otherwise I don't know if I'd be here.
That's awesome. Yeah, we always need to make sure to have mentors along the process, and it doesn't matter what the background of that mentor is. If you think they can help you, then That's all you need to be worrying about. That's awesome.
Eqra did really well too, actually.
Yeah, I got a 23
Oh, wow.
AA, and then I got like a 28 on PAT and a 29 reading.
Wow.
So those like really high scores, I think, helped me
Definitely.
and piqued their interest in me, especially because my angle for my application was like, I'm an artist. So with the 28 PAT definitely supports my, claim.
Yeah, we both were in positions where we had to do well on the DAT.
Yeah.
And if you find yourself in that position, don't rush to take it. Like, be
Yeah.
ready. Be ready for it.
So,
One thing about the DAT, you kind of touched on it, just start. Don't worry about going over everything. That's the challenge that people have. They're like, there's so much material. I don't know how to commit everything. I don't know what I know. I don't know what I do know. So just keep going. That's the most important thing.
I mean, again, like if you guys have any questions, you can DM us on Instagram or just email us. And we have like breakdowns and we have flashcards that we're willing to share as well. I have an Anki deck that has like 4,000, cards on it. Just know that the DAT is easier than the test prep.
Yeah.
A lot easier. In fact, I was shocked.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you can slack.
If
Slack
you
off.
want a certain score, like let's say you want a 21, 22, consistently be scoring a 21, 22 on your practice tests. And if you're doing that, then you're fine. You're ready for it.
One thing people forget to look in terms of criteria is what the school's out-of-state acceptance
Yeah.
rate.
Oh yeah, that's another thing.
that's one thing.
We had like a Excel spreadsheet and everything. Like we looked at all the numbers because we didn't want to waste our time applying to a state school that accepted like 1% of out of state. So that's another aspect that we also looked
Yeah,
at.
if you're out of state, don't apply to a Texas school. Don't apply to...
No, you can apply to Texas school unless
If you have the cash.
If you...
Well,
okay, but like
yeah.
if you live in Arkansas, I think is one of the schools. If you... Anyway, just make sure you look at all the different criteria that you have to hit for a school. What their GPAs are, DAT, but more importantly, do they even accept out-of-state students?
basically
Today.
use the ADEA dental school score.
A lot of people, and that'll say like their requirements for shadowing, what their prerequisites are. Like, don't apply to a school without the prereqs because you're not going to get in. They're going to immediately filter you out usually, unless you contact them, talk to them, say is it okay if I'm missing this? Can I take this summer before?
Well, some schools might do that, but actually most say that if you have it in your planned coursework, because when you're applying, you can show future semesters. So as long as that's the case, then that means you'll be taking it before matriculation. But yeah, some schools might be very strict on that.
You have to hit their criteria. If they want 3 letters of recommendation from a science professor, you probably need 3.
Yeah, and on DAT boot camps Facebook group, people keep asking, do I need 2? Do I need 3? Do I need 4? Just look at the school, bro. It's literally all there. Just Google it. So what advice would you give to any couples out there that are getting ready to apply together to dental schools? What would you tell them?
Yeah, I was gonna say that for couples that want to apply together, it's important for you to realize that you're still your individual person, and that means your stats and your qualifications have to stand alone before they can be considered together. So you need to make sure that you're a qualified candidate and that you will fit the criteria and to get admitted. And then you can consider and talk about the idea of couple getting in together. Because I would think that first you need to apply to a school. And once you get an interview, then you can bring up the fact that you guys are a couple and that you would love to, get in together.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't really necessarily bring it up before because you don't want to make yourself like a package deal. Yeah. And they might reject one person or the other because of that reason. Yeah. So I'm just going to make sure that you stand alone as a qualified candidate before you look at putting each other in a package deal.
That's excellent because you're each individual applicant, no matter if you're married, siblings, whatever, you're your own person with different experiences and everything. Go ahead, Ali.
You can't like expect schools to give you special consideration because you're married,
Yeah.
And the only time I would really say you can like bring that up professionally is if you've both interviewed and then you both decide that, hey, if we were accepted, we would commit to this school. At that point, you can send a letter of intent and say, hey, like we would love to go to your school for these reasons, and this is why we could contribute to your school. On that note, don't send a letter of intent to a school you're not going to attend. if they, because that's, anyway.
So for example, when I was talking to a particular school, I mentioned to them like, what if I'm applying with my sibling or spouse or whatever, do you guys consider that? And then they just told me straight up no. Like, we're not going to consider that. I don't care who you're applying with. You have to apply on your own merits, and we're just going to judge you individually. I was like, okay, whatever. So for that school, I didn't bother mentioning that because it wasn't going to help. And I didn't want to seem like I wasn't going to move and go to that school without him. So you don't want to say anything that will make it seem like you're not going to move there unless someone's going to come with you, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
But for other schools, they said they encouraged us to like give them a letter of intent, actually. And because we had both already interviewed, I saw that as an opportunity to let them know. And I also know that, you know, some schools do consider the fact that your support system is very important, especially during dental school. So they saw that we were both good candidates and they liked both of us, thankfully. And once we mentioned to them that we're a couple, I think that definitely gave them a reason to accept us both because they know that we would be more successful together as opposed to being apart. So it really depends on the individual school. But I would caution to mention it from the get-go because, again, you don't want to make it seem like you're unwilling to go to that school unless your husband or your sister or whoever is going to go there with you.
Right.
So did UNLV suggest to write a letter of intent before I recommended you guys to do it, or was it like after like how?
They had like some informational sessions, and she just said that, you know, if you are really interested in this school, just let us know. So I was like, okay, that's basically saying that you want us to write a letter of intent if you really want to go to this school. And so that's what we did. So schools will tell you like what they want or don't want. Some schools are like, don't send us a letter. And they'll emphasize that over and over again. And then some schools are like, yeah, we want a letter or we want you to tell us.
Yeah,
so
and you don't have to be scared to ask, you know. Like
yeah, you can
them,
ask
like, do you prefer us to send you a letter? With some schools, you know, they have more qualified applicants than they can accept. So it helps to tell them like, hey, I would commit to your school if I was accepted. You know, they a lot of schools have high turnover rates. Not necessarily like
not turnover rates, but people like, who accept and then later change their mind.
Yeah,
it makes their job a little easier, I think. But again, I feel like a lot of students kind of like ask each other, but who you need to really ask what the school wants is the school itself. And you shouldn't be afraid to ask them questions, and no one's going to give you a more clear answer than the school. Yeah. So you shouldn't be asking like other students necessarily, or like reading SDN trying to figure out what school wants what. You should ask the school, you know.
That's one thing that I feel like people shy away from. They're like, oh, like, you know, whenever you're writing an email to a professor, you're trying to be like super formal. You don't want to sound like you're saying something wrong. You're like saying sorry, like in your mind after you said something, whatever. You're going somewhere for 4 years to become a doctor. You can ask whatever you need to. Just make sure you're not being a pest, but just ask whatever you need to.
But yeah, no, it's funny you mentioned the email thing because we would make like I would read his email and he would read my email. Like we're like proofreading
how's
it.
my grammar?
Yeah.
And then one time I wrote DMD instead of DDS, and I was like, oh my god, they're gonna hate me for that. But then you know, it's a little
mistake.
thing, you know.
Yeah. Things happen.
And I think what you also mentioned, Ali, about if you've both interviewed, then that opens the door for bringing up that in the and like what you said, maybe not bringing it up from the beginning is a good thing to do, probably, because it just shows that I don't know.
Codependent.
It's just not.
You don't want to seem
very
like
professional.
Yeah.
You know, you're not applying there, like she said, as a package deal.
Yeah.
They want individual dentists. Like maybe like you're gonna work in the future as a dentist on your own, probably. Like when you get that first job out of dental school, you're not necessarily going to be working at the same practice, you know, so, or like working on the same patient at the same time. Like you have to be your own person before all of that. I got a question for you, Teham. How is like living outside of Houston been? I don't know if you like lived away from your family at all before dental school, but you know, living in Arizona now, like has that been difficult being so far from family?
It's definitely a challenge. So my first time was when I actually left from Houston for my master's. I went to Cleveland in Case Western. That's where I was looking into master's programs, and the only reason I picked it was because it had the highest dental school matriculation percentage in the entire nation. No, but they did have some type of linkage agreement with their medical school where if you had like a certain GPA and MCAT, you're guaranteed an interview.
Yeah.
The dental school didn't have that.
Yeah.
But the percentages that they had, I didn't see anywhere else. It was like an 85 dental school percentage rate of matriculation. Yeah. I got into Midwestern's Masters, Harrogate in Tennessee. Where else? I got into two more. I'm forgetting where they were, but
You went to Case Western?
I went to Case Western. Yeah, they also had an online thing, but what I'm getting to is that was my first time moving out, and it was tough. Like I didn't know anyone there. I was only there for 7 months because I found out about dental school while I was in it.
That you found out you were accepted?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Oh.
Yeah, I
That's
applied
nice.
simultaneously.
Mostly to dental schools and masters at the same time.
Yeah.
I was crazy. I don't know. I was just going all over the place.
You want to make sure that if something else happens, you already are doing
Yeah.
something else,
Yeah.
you know?
Plus, I was about to get married at that time, so that's another thing. Yeah, that's when I started getting white hair. Actually,
Dude, I got white hairs in my beard. Like
I know, I have a
recently.
lot,
I'm
too.
like, what?
A lot.
Am I dying? No.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got married. How long before my DAT?
Like a month.
A month and 2 days, I think, before my DAT. Yeah, so it was.
Very
I mean,
stressful.
hey, I'm happy we got married, but it was not a fun time. At the moment. I asked that question and I realized you're actually going to dental school with your brother Sarab. So I'm sure it's nice to have that like support base.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you guys kind of, you have like maybe different friend groups and you have that luxury of like getting notes from one group and another group, or is it kind of like you're all around the same?
so it is definitely amazing to have someone with you along the process. I've actually had the same friend groups with my brother since I was in elementary school till today. Like literally, yeah. It's also because our gap is just 1 year, like in a few months. So that's the major reason.
Was you the same class or
Same class, same year, same school. So yeah, before COVID, we were sitting next to each other every day in sim clinic. Like I was looking at his preps, he was looking at mine. But after COVID, they split up our class. But yeah, it's been awesome, and everyone's helpful in our class, bro. Like everyone. Like I don't know if it's because of the pass fail thing that we touched upon earlier off camera, but no, everyone knows who's trying to specialize. Everyone knows who's trying to be an oral surgeon. Everyone knows who's trying to be an orthodontist. But at our school, I don't think I've felt that no one's sharing notes because of a competition at our school. So the question is that let's say only Eqra got into UNLV and only you got into El Paso's. What would you guys do? Would you think about applying again, or would you go with it? What would y'all do?
I mean, we thought about this a lot, really. Like, we kept like bringing this up like week after week. I think we would have ended up going to different schools because, like, let's say she turns down her out-of-state offer to reapply in-state, but doesn't get in the next year. Like, what do you do at that point?
It's just hard to get in dental school in the first place. So, yeah, it would just really suck if we were separate. But at the same time, our careers also matter to us. So, yeah, you can't really reject an acceptance because it's already so hard to get in and it just looks bad.
I would say if there are, for the 3 or 4 couples in the country that are applying together to dental school, if you guys are listening, I would say don't go into it with the expectation that you're going to get in together. That's with anything in life.
Just prepare yourself.
Don't have crazy expectations for anything in life.
But there's plenty of people who have like long distance relationships.
Yeah.
Like people who get in dental school, they say like, oh yeah, I'm in a long distance relationship with my boyfriend or something. So I mean, it's not like it's impossible. It'll just be a lot harder, but you need to prioritize what's important to you. And for us, being dentists is important to us.
Yeah.
So more so than just being together all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
So
make sure you're okay with not getting in together. Like,
Yeah.
because that can't be a prerequisite for you being a dentist or a dental student. Like,
Definitely.
anyway.
you're your own individual person.
Yeah. You have to be your own person, have your own hobby. Marriage advice. Have your own hobbies, have your lives away from each other, have your own friends. Anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
My brother actually is going through that right now because his wife is in medical school at UNT in Dallas, Fort Worth, and he's in dental school with me. So every week we're not doing anything in person. If it's an online like session or whatever, he's in Dallas. He flies there all the time. And I can't even imagine. I mean, I got a little taste of it because my wife didn't move in with me until second year. Okay. So it's in 2019, like 2-3 months before my school started.
Oh, so
Yeah.
you were apart for like a year.
Yeah, we were apart for a year. I mean, we in the fall you have a bunch of breaks, Thanksgiving, Christmas break. So like she came a lot during the fall break, but like we weren't living together at the time. But then she came and it was awesome. And then one thing actually I wanted to tell you guys, which is really good for you, is that obviously you're going to be living together. So that means that only one of you guys are going to have to take loans for living expenses, which is awesome.
And I was telling this too because I was like, okay, either you can go to El Paso and I'll go to UNLV because El Paso is a great school. I was hesitant to pass it up, even though at the risk of, I mean, we'd be together at UNLV, but I kind of thought about it. I'm like, okay, but living expenses will be cut down, and then on top of that, traveling expenses because I'm pretty sure we would travel and like meet each other, and also the emotional toll. So I was like, you know what? In the grand scheme of things, I'd rather just be together and spend a little more to be together as opposed to just trying to save a little bit of money. So
truthfully, the cost difference was like a lot less than I expected. So I think we calculated it.
It was like $80,000
between 80 to 100,000, not even including like cost of traveling to see each other and everything. So
when did you guys submit your applications, and when did you like have your supplementals completed for you when you started hearing back from everywhere that you applied?
So this is my third year applying, and I had my stuff together this year. Like I was really on top of it. So I applied the very first day the application opened. I had my letters of recommendation in and everything. I had all my shadowing and volunteering from years until now. I had taken my DAT ahead of time. So I applied, I think this year it opened June 16th or something. It was like delayed a little bit. And then I started getting my interviews in August. And then I was mostly done by December. And then I got my UNLV interview. I had December 3rd, I think. So I wasn't in the first wave of acceptances. And then I had another interview in February that I turned down because at that point I'd been accepted. But yeah, so I did my UNLV interview December 3rd. What about you? How did your application cycle go?
I mean, well, first thing what I did is I made like a little document, like just of all my shadowing experiences and everything, just in one like Word doc before I even started the application process, because you kind of like forget what you do and you need to keep track of everything. And also maybe write a couple of like sentences about your experience so you remember like what you did. And so when it comes to time to apply, all you're doing is kind of looking at that and then just transferring it to the application. So we worked on the application really early actually, and I submitted I think in the end of June. I took a little more time because I mean I didn't have my DAT, so I didn't really, and plus I was waiting for a couple of letters of recommendation. But it's about timing. So obviously you want to apply as early as possible. And then, but the thing is, because of COVID, my DAT got canceled. And like, I just kept on pushing it back as well because I was so nervous about the exam. Because for me, it was going to like make or break my application, And I was already feeling really stressed because of the fact that I really wanted to get in with him. So eventually I didn't take it until December 1st. And so in reality, even though my application had been submitted and verified at the beginning of July, it wasn't complete until December, like the end of December, once my DAT scores got verified. Some schools accepted the DAT, like the unofficial report. So immediately, whichever schools accepted that, I sent it to them. But yeah, it wasn't really until end of December that my application was fully done. Interviews, because I didn't submit my DAT till December 1st, I didn't start getting any interviews until beginning of this year. So I got 3-4 interviews, and after I found out I had been accepted into UNLV, I just declined the other two. But
when was your UNLV interview again?
Beginning of February or end of January.
Yeah, that sounds right.
It was like end of January. So I started getting interviews after the first wave of acceptance had already happened.
Yeah.
So.
And at that point, we knew that UNLV was the school that we would commit to after we both interviewed. So we both sent letters of intent. First off, saying like why we're interested in the school, like how we like the clinical curriculum, and and how we thought we could contribute to the school. And then at the very end, we said, granted we're married, like first off, we would definitely commit to the school, and this would be a great opportunity for us. So
it would be an honor and a privilege to attend school together.
Yeah, us being married wasn't the focus of the email.
Yeah.
That would have been unprofessional. I think we did it the right way.
Yeah, y'all did. I took a look at y'all's letter. It was very well written. Yeah, no problem. And another good thing that you brought up was it's very common for now, because people's DATs were getting canceled.
Yeah.
So that's very important to have everything else done.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's what you said you did.
Everything was completed. I was just also doing like a little bit of volunteering, so I would update that. But I think this cycle was different because everything was pushed back. So I think there was more post-December interviews. So thankfully it worked out in my favor, but I think maybe in previous cycles it may not have been as forgiving. So I was lucky because I pushed it back so much, but only because of the COVID situation.
So knowing everything that you guys went through, this whole process, would there be something that you would change in your application process, or something that you learned during the process that you'd like to share?
Considering I applied 3 times, I would say be genuine to yourself. I don't mean like not that I lied on my application or anything, but I wasn't really right off the bat trying to fully understand why I was pursuing dentistry. I was just trying to check some boxes. I have my shadowing, my volunteering, so on and so forth. I didn't really explore that fully for myself, like what it was about dentistry that interested me. I didn't, and I think like as you're writing your personal statement, that's kind of something that will reveal itself to you. I would say start on that as early as possible. Give yourself months and months, get a lot of people to look at it, and really just be true to yourself. Try to fully understand yourself, learn about yourself as you go, instead of trying to check boxes, to put it generally.
Especially when it comes to volunteering, I think like you might sign up to do some things, but you don't like volunteering at that thing. So you want to enjoy your time and enjoy the journey. I would also suggest maybe doing some volunteering in things that really interest you. Yeah. Like, for example, I really love animals, right? So what I wish I did was volunteer at like an animal shelter. And it doesn't matter what kind of volunteering you're doing, what kind of community service you're doing, as long as it's something you enjoy. Obviously, alongside with dental-related things too, but just community service in general, I think you should do things that you really want to do and have fun with.
Yeah, because like every single applicant has the same stuff. Like everyone's gone shadowing, everyone's volunteered at these clinics. It's like have something that first and foremost you enjoy, but also that sets you apart a little bit. They're gonna be like, oh, this guy volunteered in an animal shelter. He walks dogs, walks people's dogs.
Well, when you do something,
babysits cats, that's awesome.
Yeah, and when you do something that you like, when it comes to interview time and like writing in your application, you seem a lot more genuine and excited, and they want to see that. They don't want you to like say like, oh yeah, I did this, and like you're just like monotone and like seem bored.
Yeah.
If you show passion and excitement for what you've done, it makes a big difference.
Get good grades.
Yeah, get good grades.
Do well in your classes. Yeah, take your classes seriously.
Yeah, take your classes
If you're
seriously.
shadowing and volunteering, make sure it doesn't have a negative impact on your classes. You're still getting those A's. Will make your life a lot easier. I can promise you that.
And you touched on the experiences section. A lot of people, when they read or like talk to upperclassmen or people in dental school, they're like, oh, every experience has to be dental.
No.
And you're absolutely right. Yeah. That's not the case. Especially when it comes to like volunteering, they're like, oh, I have to go to a clinic. I have to shadow. Yeah. Shadowing's for you to know if you're going to like it. But you can do volunteering at an animal shelter. You can volunteer anywhere. It doesn't matter what you're doing.
Keep track of all your stuff while you're doing it, and don't kind of wait for the last minute to like remember what you did the past 4 years. Because number one, you won't remember exactly what you did. And then if you have like a really significant experience, you might forget what exactly happened. So if there's any like things that stand out to you, or like experience or like interaction you had with the patient that really touched you, I would definitely write it down, because when it comes to time to like write your personal statement or just to even submit the details of what you did in that activity, conveying those emotional and like significant events is going to be a lot more beneficial for you and your application.
And that's something, like you said, writing why it was important, the journaling aspect. it helps you in your personal statement. Absolutely, like you said. And that's what I've read, like 50 personal statements of pre-dental students. And the number one thing that's lacking is the reflection, what they learned. Why was it worthwhile? They're just doing a laundry list. I did this, I did this, I did this, and this is why I did it. That's it. That's what usually they are. We actually have a personal statement walkthrough happening on the 27th of March, and we're going to go over and read over y'all's personal statements. So if you're interested in that, go and follow this link, and you can go ahead and sign up for that.
So many essays start off with like, I wanted to become a dentist when I went to my orthodontist. I'm like, oh my God, how many essays I'm going to read about that?
Almost everyone that
And you guys are feeling this. So imagine what academic advisors and like admissions counselors feel when they read the same thing over and over.
That's
wow. Yeah, we're not reading thousands of personal statements. That's a good point.
Yeah.
We're reading like our friends or our families or like close people in our circles. And we get like, oh, I have to read this again, like, or whatever.
Yeah, I would just say like there's a lot of self-reflection that people don't really touch on because it's hard to verbalize why you want to do something without seeming like you're trite or like shallow, I guess.
You have to show emotion, I would say. That's something that I didn't do my first couple of times. Like people just want to sound like they just make it a laundry list. Like they just sound so robotic. Like they say like maybe someone says like I fell and I destroyed my teeth. Like my teeth were like all broken and the dentist fixed them for me. Like, so it had no emotional impact on you. Like this is a big life event. Like, I was in a dark place. I found myself like unwilling to speak to a lot of friends. Like I kind of isolated myself. Like talk about the emotional impact it had on you and how you can envision yourself, affecting other people's lives in that way. What have you seen during your volunteering or your shadowing that like was transformative for a patient? Like, and how did that sit with you? How can you see yourself in that position, giving that kind of care to a patient?
Absolutely. And what you're talking right now is all analysis and reflection. And just so whoever's watching, you can have an idea, if you're going through your own personal statement and you see like, it's like Eqra, you said, the laundry list of things. If you're just saying what you did and most of your paper's that, like take one example, like going to TMOM, Texas Mission of Mercy. You say, I did this and I worked with these many people. 2 sentences max, right? 5 sentences should be all reflection and analysis of what you did.
Don't feel bad. At the very least, you've got some groundwork for your personal statement. You've listed some things that you've done, and that's good content. Now, really reflect, figure out why those were important to you, what kind of impact they had on you. Don't fret.
What would you say is probably the most challenging part of the application cycle aside from the DAT?
When you first apply, you think you're done after you hit submit. You're mistaken. There are a lot of supplemental questions that you'll have for schools, essays that are a lot longer than you expect. I don't know which schools off the top of my head, but some have like a 3,000 character, like optional essay that you have to write. Those are not optional at all. You gotta do those. I would say that's the biggest part. And then really like once you're done submitting your application, start preparing for interviews immediately. Why do you want to be a dentist? Tell me about yourself. Those kind of general ones. And then after that, just speak to people, have conversations, be willing to hold a conversation with someone, sound interesting. Don't memorize too much about the questions. I would say the interview is the biggest part after all that.
You may apply to 20 schools and then you realize like 15 of them have supplementals. So you're not really done until you finish those supplementals. And then some of them have like really long essay questions, like you were saying.
Exactly. That's actually something that is unknown from the pre-dental community. If you tell somebody that's about to apply for the first time, oh, are you ready for supplementals? They'll have a heart attack because they don't know what you're talking about. So the supplemental part is exactly the time frame you have to allot into your process. So if you're applying in June when it opens, expect everything to not be done by mid to end August. So if you're applying and submitting stuff in August, that means your stuff's not going to be done till September. So people don't remember that. And that's a really good point that y'all brought up regarding supplementals. So I'm sure there's a bunch of emotions and excitement going on with you guys. Again, congratulations. Really happy for you guys. Did you guys have any question about D1 year, what to expect or anything like that?
For myself, and I guess everyone else listening, I think we all wonder, how do we prepare? Like, what should we be doing during this time? And I've I've kind of resigned myself to the fact that I'm not going to prepare. I'm just going to relax, try to enjoy my time off. What would you say? Like, is there a balance between like preparing and trying to get ahead and just fully relaxing? Like,
The thing people worry about the most is, oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm ready to do all these science classes, and like, how is it going to be? How do I get ahead? Don't do anything. Just sit down, relax, spend time with your family, spend time with yourselves, do whatever you want to do. Do nothing academic related. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I'm telling you, like, some people, okay, if you're trying to do a residency program and you know that you got to be top 10, go ahead. Do whatever you need to do. Research, all those stuff, go ahead. But if you know you're trying to be a general dentist and you know that you're not having high goals like that or whatever, just relax, spend time with your family, because you're not going to have this time that you're having right now. You're not going to have it. The longest break you'll get is a week, maybe 2.
Oh God.
That's it. That's it. Absolutely it. And you have to fit in, like, your life of your family and friends is going to still be going on in Houston. You're going to miss events. You're going to miss weddings. You're going to miss birthdays. You're going to miss anything. Like, you could, so you just make sure you're making use of all that time you have right now.
Yeah.
and everyone's going to forget you, not really care. Trust me, they're going to move past you. They're not going to care.
Like,
that you're
who's
gone.
that?
I'm trying to say, like, you'll know who matters.
Yeah.
When you come back here, they'll hit you up.
Yeah.
If they're not hitting you up, that doesn't mean they don't like you. That just means that they have their own life too.
Yeah.
They like you as a friend, but they're not going to like constantly hit you up like, oh, how's it going? Are you back here? But some people will. And you'll know who you'll be willing to give that time to.
Yeah.
That's all that matters. That's all it is. That was something that I learned actually early on.
I'd say, yeah, it's like you learn to, it's not like you appreciate the other people less, but you're just like, wow, these people really care about me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're willing to wait around
Yeah.
for you to come back after, several months to years.
Yeah.
How hard was it to balance day-to-day, adult responsibilities, go to school, go to sim lab and do all that stuff? Like, were you always busy, or do you have any type of, I don't know, like,
Free
are you
time?
always doing something all the time, or how much time do you have to like even enjoy things like going to Grand Canyon and stuff? So, like, were there any problems with like your relationship with your wife? Because I mean, I'm not saying that there are going to be problems, but I mean, there's expectations you got to manage in your family and with other people around you while you're doing something that's going to like take up all your time.
A lot of things in this question, so I'm gonna try my best to
Yeah,
tackle them.
sorry.
So the first thing is you're definitely gonna first have to learn how much time you have to put in to get whatever grade you want. And it's gonna take some experimentation. You might have to change your study method. And like, some people are straight up used to writing notes by hand for everything. And in dental school, it's impossible. It's like absolutely impossible. But I was like that too. Don't worry. I think I got you scared right there, but no. What free time will I have? People don't think they'll have any free time, but you will. And you have to do stuff that'll keep you sane during using that free time. Traveling, going outside, playing sports, working out, whatever it is. So once you figure out how much time you have to put in a class, you just keep that routine and apply it to every class. There'll be some classes like head and neck or and anatomy classes that you'll be told from upperclassmen that it's going to take more time. It's a little bit more challenging. So then you just tweak it a little bit. So you'll have free time and you definitely want to make use of it. In terms of relationships during the process, it's definitely easier if your partner is not only in the same program, but in any school. So my wife, she's also in a master's program right now. So even though we're doing different things, we're always involved with just being busy with whatever we need to do. Now, whereas if somebody else is maybe not in school, even if they're working or just keeping themselves busy, they'll have something that they won't feel like, oh, I'm not as busy as the other person. So as long as that's going on, then you can continue a healthy relationship throughout the process. Our school has a Google Calendar, so we get to see all of our due dates, all of our exams, and I just plan everything around that. So in my Google Calendar, I'll put just, when you're studying, you forget sometimes oh yeah, we have to figure out food for today. So I literally have a reminder on my Google Calendar, what are we doing for food at 5 p.m. so that I'm like thinking about it ahead of time. So like if Juhi made food one day, then I'll make food the next day or whatever. So stuff, we just like take turns and, you know, you just got to figure out. And the good thing for you guys, you're going to have the same schedule.
Yeah.
So you guys can kind of figure that out. And we have certain days during the week where we agree to eat out.
Yeah.
And naturally, you're going to do that too, because when you're in a graduate program, you can't cook every single day. So yeah, just make sure to have a Google account. Even if your school doesn't have one, make one for yourself. All of the due dates, all of the exams, all the holidays, and you can even share it with your class if you want to. And then you can add stuff to it that's more personal life stuff within there. So you just have a good blueprint of how your entire week is going to be. And so, yeah, for sure. That's what I would recommend.
I did that for DAT studying specifically because if you don't have a schedule, you don't even know what the heck you're doing sometimes. And then another thing we've been doing is kind of like figuring out how to cook certain things and like, okay, this is a good recipe for dental school because it takes like 25 minutes to prepare. So, yeah.
Buy an Instant Pot today.
Really?
Buy it. Literally there's so many recipes called dump and go recipes, like chicken and rice or like soup or whatever. You can do whatever you want. One pot. Literally, you just put in whatever the heck you want. You can make Spanish rice, steak, chicken, pasta, dump and go, bro. Literally nothing, no effort. Buy one. It's well worth it.
Yeah, air fryer.
Oh, air fryer. I have that too. Yeah. Well, if you guys have any questions, just ask. If you guys like a moving advice or school advice, just let me know if you guys have anything. And thank you again for being a part of this episode, man. Thank you so much. Good luck in dental school.
All right,
Thank you.
Man. You too. Hope it goes well.
Yeah.